Next speaker is Dr. Kanupriya Agarwal. She is MS Ophthalmology and Director of Focus Netralaya, Bareilly. She is the Senior Eye Surgeon and Medical Retina Specialist from Shroff Hospital, Delhi. After completing her senior residency from Safdarjung Delhi Hospital, she has now completed more than 25,000 surgeries with a record of 100 phaco surgeries in a day. Congratulations, madam. She is now Managing Director and Consultant at Focus Netralaya, Bareilly, as I've already said, and has a keen interest to serve the society. And she runs charity as well as private wings at Focus Netralaya, Bareilly. Dr. Kanupriya will take us through mucormycosis diagnosis and protocol. So over to you, madam.
Yeah, thank you. First of all, I would like to thank Cintuar for holding such a nice webinar. Today, I'll be taking the diagnostic protocol of rhino-orbital cerebral mucormycosis, that is ROCM. Now, the main purpose of my talking today is early diagnosis of ROCM, which will help to find and treat at the right time, and thus we can save eyes and prevent the exenteration and save the eyes. So basically, there are three methods to diagnose it. First is clinical, then is radiological, and then is microbiological. We have the red flag signs. The signs and symptoms may help us to diagnose if it is a possible case of ROCM. If these symptoms are radiologically also supported, then we call it as a probable ROCM. And when it is proven microbiologically with the stains or with the culture that no, this is mucormycosis stain, then we call it as a proven ROCM. So now, what is a possible ROCM? So a possible ROCM is when a patient who had concurrent COVID-19 or is recently had an episode of COVID-19, which was less than 6 weeks. Also, he is a diabetic and the risk factor increases, as the sir said, that it is an uncontrolled diabetes mellitus, along with some kind of an immunocompromise. That could be a long-term use of steroid. That could be a cause that could lead to any kind of neutropenia. That could be an organ transplant, or that could be immunosuppressive drugs. Also, if he had been on a ventilator or a long-term oxygen therapy. When these factors are there, along with these factors, when there comes red flag signs, then we say that this is possible rhino-ocular cerebral mucormycosis. Now, it is very important to understand these red flag signs, because these red flag signs, whenever any patient suspects, should always get alerted and consult his ophthalmologist or an ENT physician. So the first sign that he would feel would be nasal stuffiness. The nose signs would come first. Sir has already explained, but I would still like to stress, because these red flag signs, if we diagnose them early, we can treat them early. That is the nasal stuffiness. There can be nasal discharge, nasal mucosa erythema could be there, bluish discoloration, there could be white ulcer, that means there is some kind of ischemia. Then there could be epistaxis, black or red tinge discharge can come out. We can have an eyelid, periocular or facial edema. Facial pain is there. The headache gets worsened up. The patient can also come with the symptoms of diplopia, proptosis, loss of vision, restricted eye movements. And also, to me, a few days back, a patient came only with altered behavior and acute paralysis. So it is also there that he can have any of these red flag signs along with post-COVID patient. Red flag signs, we should consider it a case of possible ROCM and go ahead to confirm whether it is a probable case of ROCM or not. So when the possible ROCM is supported by the evidences of contrast-enhanced MRI, we call it a case of probable ROCM. So when we are talking about the signs, how to diagnose at MRI, normally on MRI, we see contrast-enhanced MRI, we see enhancement of turbinates on MRI. But here we can very well see that a black turbinate sign, that is, there is non-enhancement of the turbinate area. We can see the turbinate area, there is non-enhancement. That means there is an ischemia, and that means that it is an angio-invasive mucormycosis. Also, it is very important that absence of paranasal sinus involvement has a strong negative predictive value. So when the patient is having nasal signs after a contrast MRI of PNS, he can also have some orbital signs. And the first orbital sign is the thickening of medial rectus. We can see in the diagram, the arrow is there. The medial rectus thickening is there. We can have a periorbital swelling. We can have enhancement of orbital fat. And gradually, this goes to the orbital apex. Also, there is bone destruction that is better seen in the CT scan. This involvement goes to brain. We can see an orbital apex. Orbital apex is also involved and there is some kind of an enhancement. This enhancement is now, we can see this meningeal enhancement. This meningeal enhancement indicates that there is involvement of brain also. When there is involvement of brain, then the prognosis is poor, as sir already said. Now, when the clinical and the radiological diagnosis is supported by microbiology, then we say that we have proved and it is a proven case of ROCM. Now, how to take the swab? We do the most important tool that we are having is KOH mount. We can have a direct mount from the middle, the inferior turbinate, or the posterior pharynx, as we can see, nasopharynx, as we can see in the diagram. And this mount, when taken and we make a slide, we have a pauci-septate, irregular, ribbon-like, wide-angled, and a non-dichotomous branching. We can see that this is a 90-degree branching, a wide-angle branching is there, and we have an irregular pattern. Now, the sensitivity of this is 90%. That means if we find KOH on KOH mount, 20% KOH mount, if we find this, then it diagnoses, it proves that it is a proven case of ROCM. We can also go for Sabro's dextrose agar culture, but the problem with culture is that it takes 3 to 5 days to get this cotton candy-like colonies, and 3 to 5 days is quite a lot time for ocular mycosis. Now, there are problems with microbiology also, because even if we get swabs, even if we get a biopsy done, but still, because it is a very common laboratory contaminant and it is found everywhere, so we can even get a growth from an uninfected mucosal surface. And so sample most of the time gets insufficient from the necrotic area that we see over there. And if we aggressively grind, it may render the fragile organism non-viable. So there are high false negative results that are seen in microbiology. But the most important thing is that we have to see whether it is a possible, the probable, or the proved after ROCM. We have to do staging. At what stage is the patient? Because staging would help us to further clinically see that what treatment can be instituted early. Now, the staging that we have seen, the All India Ophthalmic Society has now started with, is of 4 stages. The first stage comes when it is limited to nasal mucosa. The second stage is when the involvement is till paranasal sinus. The third stage is the orbital stage. In the orbital stage, we have 3A, 3B, 3C, and 3D. 3A and 3B are at that stage when vision remains unaffected. But 3C, when we have central retinal artery occlusion, there are ophthalmic artery occlusion, superior ophthalmic vein thrombosis, and we have bilateral orbital involvement. That means that vision loss is there. So it is important that in the treatment that whether it is a 3A, 3B stage or 3C, 3D stage in a possible or a proven or ROCM. And the fourth stage is the CNS stage. At this stage, the prognosis is very poor. So when we talk about the basic management of a possible, the probable, or the proven ROCM, the most important thing is early diagnosis, because the early diagnosis was definitely help us to start the treatment early. The induction therapy is started early. When the induction therapy is started early, we can save eye from exenteration, and we can save lives definitely. So to summarize in short, I would say that ROCM, when it is in stage 1, 2, 3 or 3B, that is when the patient is having good vision, then we start with the induction therapy of amphotericin B. Now this amphotericin B is started at 5 to 10 milligram per kg per day. But the problem with liposomal amphotericin B is that it is intolerant to kidney patients, and most of these patients are diabetic and patients of kidney failure. So we have another drug that is posaconazole that can also be instituted at a dose of 300 milligram twice a day. Also, when vision is there, we want to salvage the vision. We are giving a retrobulbar amphotericin injection at a dose of 3 milligram of 3.5 milligram of amphotericin per ml. But when we are at stage 3C or further, that is, the vision has already been lost and it has gone to central nervous system, extended to central nervous system, then after induction therapy, we have to go for an orbital exenteration. So I would like to thank, and I would like to say again that we have to be clear in mind with the signs and symptoms so that we catch up these cases early and we diagnose them early so that we prevent this exenteration and we prevent and we save our eyes and save sight. Thank you. Over to Mitali.
Thank you, madam. Thanks a lot. I think there are lots of questions and lots of appreciations in that question box I could see. And I'll start with that one, that we are so proud of you from Bareilly. So over to Dr. Girjes for the questions, please. I have posted on the chat box. Sir, you are mute.
Hello.
Yes, sir. Audible.
Yeah, it's a nice presentation, Dr. Kanupriya. It's very informative. One more fungus is also coming. That's white fungus. So, could you have any idea which fungus is more dangerous? That is a black fungus or this white fungus?
Sir, definitely fungus, we know it is neither a bacteria nor it is basically an opportunistic parasite. So it is getting now opportunity because we are having more of immunocompromised patients. So it is getting more chance of developing. So apart from this black fungus, this white fungus is basically candida infection. We have already seen this candida infection more. But these days, black fungus is, after black fungus, now we are having a surge of white fungus also. Basically, we have to take care of immunocompromise. If we don't have this immunocompromise of any kind, be it diabetes, be it immunosuppressant drugs, be it any reason for neutropenia, we have to take care of that so that this fungus does not get an opportunity over us.
Okay. If the patient is come to you on a stage 2 or a stage 3A or 3B or maybe or 3C, so what was the ocular treatment protocol or what was the ocular treatment you want to give that patient?
Sir, till stage 3B, when the patient's vision is good, patient is only having patient is having a cellulitis or patient is having, but the vision is good, then first of all we start induction therapy with amphotericin, liposomal amphotericin. Though it is very difficult to get these days, but and also amphotericin has renal toxicity. So posaconazole is also available for that, and that is oral. Amphotericin we have to give in institutional therapies where kidney function and other systemic things can be monitored. Apart from that, we are also giving retrobulbar injections of amphotericin B. That is also because we know that eye is one structure where barrier is more, and even the drugs in the circulation doesn't go inside the eye. So we are giving retrobulbar injection so that it goes to the eye directly, and it destroys the fungi.
Okay. There is one question for Dr. Sudhir. What was the ocular treatment you want to give the patient in a stage, either in a stage 1 or 2, or it may be a 3?
I think Dr. Kanopriya has already explained the first
in terms of ocular treatment. What type of eye drop, and should we go for an antifungal eye drop or something like that for that patient which having a mild or moderate ocular symptoms for that?
No, Dr. Gijesh, none of the antifungal drug will work here because it is the superficial only. As Dr. Kanopriya has explained that we have to give amphotericin B injections. I'm not aware about because I have not given any injection of amphotericin yet in my life. Definitely, I love to know more about the this injections. So probably we can help some patients where the pockets of infection is there in the orbit only. Because sometimes you get in the MRI, you get extension of ocular involvement, but there is no breach in the or the bone area. So it may be a different pocket in the orbit. So definitely, where in such patients we can give amphotericin injections, but none of the antifungal medication as the eye drop form will work. Obviously, for symptomatic patients, because patients are coming with congestion or chemosis, and we can give some relief with some lubricant eye drops or supportive secondary infection. To suppress secondary infection, we give some antibiotics for to keep the eye cool. But the role of amphotericin IV medications and the oral antifungal drugs is, and these medicine will work only in even in ocular involvement.
Okay.
Am I true, Dr.
Yes, sure, sir.
Dr. Kanopriya, is there any role of industrial oxygen to increase the number of cases of this mucormycosis?
Is there any role of, sir?
Industrial oxygen which is supplied to the patient during this ICU and
long-term oxygen therapy is rather considered a cause for mucormycosis, because these oxygen therapies, along with the tubes that are the nasal tubes and the nasal prongs that are there, because of these prolonged use of these tubes, there is chances of increase in mucormycosis rather than the treatment schedule is there.
Okay.
I think it is not the oxygen which is creating problem. It is the tubes and
the chamber and all this auto-filled chambers.
Contaminants, nozzles maybe they give infection.
Thank you, Dr. Kanopriya. Such a nice presentation. And we will start a presentation of Dr. Pankaj Mitali. Hello.
You mute.
Yes, ma'am. So no more questions. I think there is a question of retrobulbar amphotericin, but Dr. Kanopriya has already included in her talk just now. So thank you, doctor. It's really a nice presentation and so many messages in the inbox for this presentation. So now I'll